Okay, today is Wednesday, October 3rd. I'm loading tomorrow, October 4th. Call the shipper, the auction. Always a good idea when you deal with an auction, you know, call them and give them the buyer number and lot number, and just verify that the thing is ready to go. Because once I had a issue with the guy, a buyer from US. I guess he did not realize that there was a tax involved, and so he paid them for the machine that he bought, but he forgot to add the tax, 13%, right? And so they said, I go there and I made a mistake. I did not call them before I went there, and I had to return home because it was taking like 2 or 3 days. I think I did another trip to US, and only after that dispatch sent me back. This was when I worked for this previous company. And so yeah, so basically I'm ready almost. Like today is basically you start feeling a little bit of angst, you know, like fear, because it's been a while since I drove the truck with a heavy load, you know. And that's why for me I have to get into this groove, you know, like on the day before. That's why I don't like booking a load where you have to go there like right away, you know, like you're sitting at 10 o'clock in the morning and the guy says, can you load this afternoon? It's like rush, and then nothing works usually, you know. So I prefer, when I book a load, I prefer to book for the next day. And so today, you know, I start getting in the groove. And in the morning I drove the truck to Cal Tire and made them check all tires. So I said, let's do 110 on the truck, 110, 110, 110, 110 on the pusher and the drives, and over here we do 125 on all axles. And then I'm sitting doing my IFTA in the driver's lounge, and the guy comes out. He says, Sergey, can I show you something? You have a chunk of tire missing. I said, what are you talking about? Impossible. Try again. I don't know if you guys know what movie is that line from. It's Mel Gibson sitting in the restaurant with a bunch of stolen credit cards, and he's wearing a brand new suit that he also bought using the stolen credit card, and he's sitting in the expensive restaurant. And I guess by this time the guy who he stole the wallet from already realized what happened, and he reported it, and so the bank canceled the cards. And so he has this lavish dinner, Mel Gibson, and the server comes and says, you know, it's declined. And Mel Gibson just wipes his mouth. Impossible. Try again. And the guy, like, without any comments, leaves, because it cannot happen. This guy is so important. He looks like, you know, very, very rich. And so I said, impossible. Anyway, turns out this tire over here, this tire, you can see the tread is very different, and they wanted me, of course, to buy two. I said, give me the cheapest one, I don't care. I said, I might sell this trailer, right? Like, the guy is coming tomorrow, but I didn't hear from them yet. But supposedly they're coming tomorrow, and they're like very serious. There's a heart attack, and this thing, there was a chunk missing, but the most important thing is you can see the cord, and he showed it to me. And so that's not legal. You cannot drive like that. I don't know, for some reason this trailer, like these wheels on this trailer, are just not lucky, you know. It's 16-inch spacing, right, which in the States very few people do, except Alabama, where I got this trailer from. But I'm always hitting something, you know. And I noticed that compared to 54-inch spacing, This, because I'm doing heavy loads, right, over 90,000 pounds, the tires on the front axle wear out much faster, you know, because there's so much weight, right, because these axles are pushed away. And so I remember talking to Kaufman about this when I was buying my Kaufman, my first trailer, and I was asking them, I said, like, if we forget for a second like the rules and regulations, what's best for the trailer, you know, like for the longevity of the trailer, for the stability, you know, performance, longer spacing or shorter spacing? And this guy Daniel, he didn't even hesitate. He says absolutely shorter spacing. He says for the trailer, for the rigidity, he says ideally you want the wheels to be like this far, you know, as long as they have room to spin. You know, because then all the axles kind of like participate in the load, right, and none of the axles are overloaded. Because the bigger your spacing is, the problem is, especially with this axle, imagine, so it's 60 inches 60 inches 60 inches over here, right, and I have like 95,000 pounds sitting over there. Like, it's very difficult for the trailer to absorb that kind of weight into this, you know, axle. See, this one happens, I don't know where I hit. So I hit some like steel plates or something somewhere all the time, I don't know. Driving on the same road like everybody else, you know. And so why I'm mentioning this is that if I manage to sell this trailer, so the two major differences in the new one will be, it'll be a flat floor, the same Fontaine, just flat floor, 18 inches loaded over here. And the guy I talked to, he says he cannot find 16-inch spacing. He says all the trailers he can see are, and they have 54, you know. And I said 54 is fine, you know, like the tires will last longer, and especially since I have 4 axles, I'm not too worried about not being allowed a lot of, you know, weight, because that was my issue on the Kaufman. That one had 54-inch spacing, and especially this piece bridge was, as we say in Russia, ставил палки в колеса. It was giving me a hard time. Did not allow me 60,000 on the back. But now I have 4 axles, I don't care. If they don't allow me 60,000 on 3 axles, I'll put the 4th down. And I have to put it down anyway because of Michigan. Michigan wants you to have all axles down, right? So anyway, the major point of this video, and actually I'm recording in 720p at 120 frames a second. I never tried this before. We're gonna do, we're gonna try to do some slow-mo Captain Sergei moving the tarps. Because, so I checked all the tires, right? So I replaced 1 tire, and tomorrow actually I have to go back because they also found another thing, that on this tire inside the valve is broken, you know. So they cannot check the pressure, and they cannot hook up the hose to it, you know. So basically I can drive like this, there's no issues, but if it starts losing pressure, there's no way to add air or to measure it, you know. And so I said, why don't you do it like this, you know, in this position? And they didn't have a forklift. Like, they have a forklift, but it only has like clamps, and they don't rotate, they're rigid, so it cannot just grab a tire, because it cannot, you know, it cannot move like this, right? So they say it'll be impossible for that forklift to grab this tire and then put it exactly like in this position. I don't know what they were talking about. Oh, it's not. I said, give me 2 guys, we're gonna lift it. Oh, it's not safe, we don't do that anymore. Because I remember they did it once. And I said, guys, you know, you're a tire shop, I see you have forklifts, you have all these little vehicles over here, what, you cannot flip an axle? And so the plan is, I'm gonna go get loaded tomorrow, and I'll use the machine to flip the axle, and I'll come back, because I'm gonna be passing Cambridge on the way to the border anyway, and I'll stop by there for half an hour, and I'm gonna back in there with this 11-foot wide excavator, and I'm gonna take the pressure out of this axle when it's down on the ground, and then I'm gonna remove the pins so that they can lift it, right? So that they don't lift the entire trailer with the 80,000 pound excavator. That's what we're doing tomorrow. And so yeah, also I was really anxious to do my IFTA because they always send me corrections, you know, this fuel tax. I do the fuel tax, I send them the money like based on what my calculations. They always, like within two weeks, they send me a letter. Oh, you owe us $20 more. I guess they recalculate everything, you know. And that letter arrives and I'm somewhere like 2,000 miles away, and they start threatening, you know, repossession, or we'll take your truck. Well, basically no, they cannot take the truck, but they can cancel the IFTA, and then you're not supposed to drive without a fuel tax, you know, registration. And so that's why I wanted to do it now, like before I leave, because actually I have until the end of October to file this return, but I wanted to do it early so that if there's any corrections required in terms of money, I can send them the check. I can send them the check before the deadline, you know, if that makes any sense. I don't know, but and so I managed to do it today. Like it took me like 4 or 5 hours, and I owed them $62.93 Canadian, and I sign a check. It's in the mail, done deal. So basically now we're ready. The only thing that I don't want to put off till tomorrow is these tarps, right? Because the previous load, I, you know, just put them like that. So now we're gonna move them over there, and we're gonna use a slow-mo. Moving tarps in slow-mo.
Let's do it. I'm ready.